Hi lovelies, welcome to Kids Crafternoon. Today we're going to be making a really cute drawstring backpack. So this is how you make it. First of all, you're going to need a piece of fabric for the front pocket. What you're going to do is put right sides together, and you're just having to form the top of the pocket. So I'm just putting the right sides together, and then I'm going to sew those two top pieces together at 3/8. I'm just going to sew this pocket together, just the top of it, just this top edge at 3/8 of an inch. And by the way, this pocket measures 14 inches by 14 inches. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to flip it wrong sides together and press this top edge, because this is going to be the top of your pocket. You want to have a nice crisp edge. Now I'm just going to press this seam, it's nice and crisp at the top edge. Kind of make sure you roll it out so it doesn't roll inside. And while you're at it, you just go ahead and press the whole thing nice and flat. There's the top edge of my pocket. It's just nice and flat, just like that. Now what I'm going to do is sew this pocket piece, this outside pocket piece, to the outside of one of my bag pieces. You want to make sure you separate your bag pieces. You only want to be sewing this to one piece, and your outside pieces measure 18 inches in length by 14 inches in width. What I'm going to do is lay that pocket on top of one of my outside pieces, and make sure you're putting it on the outside of the fabric, not the inside, because this goes on the outside. And I'm going to pin that pocket piece to my front of my bag piece, just in a few places. Like that. So now I'm going to sew this on at 3/8 of an inch. So side, pivot, come across the bottom, pivot, come back up. I'm also going to make sure that I'm going to back stitch at the tops of my pockets, my pocket pieces. When you put something in the pocket, if it gets any pull on it, you don't want it to pop off your bag. Make sure knots over a pin. And I know it's a little bit off right here, but this is going to get caught up in my bottom seam, as my cutting wasn't terribly straight. I'm just going to leave that like that. Call it good. When you pivot, make sure your needle's down. So I'm stopping about 3/8 of an inch away from the edge. So make sure my needle's down, press your foot up, spin my fabric. I like to check and make sure that my edge is going to be about 3/8 right there. Put my presser foot back down and continue to sew. Same thing on this edge, just stop about 3/8 of an inch. Needles down, presser foot up, spin my fabric. In this case, when I spin my fabric, I didn't go far enough. I can also spin it back, and I call this just walking it. So I'm just going to use my hand wheel and just do one more stitch, because that's going to be a little closer to 3/8. So needles down, presser foot up, spin my fabric, and that lines up with the 3/8 inch a little bit better. And don't forget to backstitch. So the pocket's on. So since this is such a huge pocket and it's going to be on the front of my bag, I'm actually going to sew a stitch down the middle, splitting it into two pockets. You could make 11 pockets on this if you wanted to just do a whole bunch of stitches. If you're going to put a whole bunch of skinny things in there, I just feel like it's a more manageable, it's going to be a more useful pocket if I sew down the center. Please make it your own and do whatever you want to. Since this pocket measures 14 inches across, I'm going to take my handy dandy ruler, and half of 14 is 7. I'm going to put a little mark at the 7-inch part at the top and 7-inch place at the bottom, and I'm going to draw a line connecting my marks. Just like that. Now I'm using this really great fabric marking pen. It is heat sensitive, and I iron over it, this mark will disappear. So just make sure that whatever you draw on is going to be able to either wash out or it's going to be disappearing. Now all I'm going to do is just do a straight stitch right down that line that I just drew. It's really important that I remember to back stitch at the top of this pocket. Again, when I put something in that pocket, it's not going to pull away from the outside of it. There's my pocket sewn on. Now what I'm going to do is zigzag around 3 edges, and I want to zigzag around the side, the bottom and the side. I'm gonna leave the top raw edge because that's actually gonna get folded under to put the drawstring through. Make sure that you're at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance when you zigzag and you don't have to backstitch. I zigzagged on both of my bag pieces, the side, the bottom, the side, side, bottom, side, on both my front and my back. So the next thing I'm gonna do is put them right sides together, like that. And I'm gonna get my handy dandy pen again, and I'm gonna mark my side seams where I'm going to be sewing, because you have to do some skipping in your stitching so that you're making a casing, like a little tunnel, for your drawstring to go through. So what I'm gonna do is get my ruler, and I'm gonna be drawing a line on the side. This is where I'm gonna stitch. I wanna make sure that I'm going to the left of where I stitched my pocket on. So I'm going a little deeper so that my pocket stitching doesn't show on the other side. So I'm coming in about 5/8 of an inch or so. And what I'm gonna do is draw a line that is 2 inches. And then from skipping an inch, so there's 3 inches. And I'm gonna go all the way down until I'm about 1.5 inches from the bottom. So I wanna make sure that this measurement is 2 inches. I'm gonna skip an inch, start at the 3 inch, and go from the 3 inch all the way down to about the 16.5 to 17 inch line. I'm stopping about 1.5 inches from the very bottom. So I'm gonna do that on this side, and I'm also gonna do that on this side. So coming in about 5/8, just a little deeper than my other seam line. And there's my 2 inch. Skip down to my 3 and stop at about 16.5 to 17. You're gonna go back and sew that up, so that's not mission critical if it's exact. Now what I'm gonna do is sew on those lines that I just drew. And I'm probably gonna pin those together so that nothing shifts. I'm just gonna sew right on those lines that I drew. I'm gonna back stitch. Don't sew over a pin. So since I'm skipping that 1 inch, when I get to the bottom of that first line, I'm gonna do a little back stitch. I just like to make sure that I'm securing my stitches. So I skipped that, and I'm gonna start here on my next line. Again, do a back stitch. It's just a good habit to always back stitch, even if you don't need to. And then I'm gonna stop and do a little back stitch right there too. And since I drew my lines on the same side, I'm actually gonna have to come up from the bottom up to the top on this one. So I flipped it around, and now I'm starting from the bottom of my bag, but it's okay, doesn't matter. Little back stitch, here's my long stitch. Do the back stitch again, here's where I skipped that inch. And I'm gonna sew to the top. And do a back stitch. At this point, now that you have your side seams all sewn up with your skipped places, I'm also gonna go ahead and sew the bottom of my bag together, and that's gonna be about 1/2 inch. Again, covering up where I stitched my pocket on, covering up those stitches. So my bag is sewn together, and at this point I'm just gonna trim some threads, and then I have to do some ironing. What I'm gonna do is press open my seams that I just sewed. If you have a sleeve board, this comes on in really handy just because this is kind of a small tube, but you can also kind of finagle it with at the end of your ironing board. So I'm just gonna put it over the sleeve board, open up my seams, And you can't get all the way to the bottom, but just get as close as you can. It's really this top part that's most important to have your seams pressed open. And just go down as far as you can. So the next thing I'm going to do is put my sleeve board over here, and I'm going to put this bag, top of my bag, on the end of my ironing board, and you're going to need your seam gauge for this. So you're going to do 1/2 inch all the way around, and then I'm going to press it again 1 1/4 inches all the way around. Here's my 1/2 inch first. This is what I like to call measure, press, spin. So I'm going to measure my 1/2 inch, press, and spin. Again, measure my 1/2 inch, press, spin, measure, press, spin, all the way around. I'm all the way around with my 1/2 inch, so now I'm going to go back around and do that at 1 1/4 inches. So there's my measure at 1 1/4 inches, press, spin, and measure, press, spin at 1 1/4 inches all the way around. Now what I'm going to do is stitch down this casing that I just pressed down, and I'm going to go pretty close to that folded edge, probably 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch. I'm just going to eyeball it, and I'll show you how you line that up on your machine so that your stitch is even from where you're sewing to the fold. So first thing I'm going to do is pull off this arm off the machine. So if your machine can do that step, because that'll make this process a lot easier. And I'm going to put it around the machine like that. I'm going to start at a seam, and I want to make sure that I'm pretty even. I want my needle to be dropping pretty close to that fold. When I put my presser foot down, I'm noticing that the fold of my casing, this part on the right side, is kind of lining up with this black button right there. If you need to put a piece of tape down or something to help you remember that, that kind of comes in handy. And when I sew around, I'm just going to try my best to make sure that this right edge is lined up with the right side of that black button right there, or just something on your machine. You can pin this down too if that seems to help. Threads. I also like to make sure that I have a pretty even seam allowance because my thread shows, and in this case I used contrasting thread to make sure that it really doesn't kind of jump around right there, that the distance from my fold to my stitch is pretty even. So now I'm going to turn it right side out. It's almost done. Poke my corners out of the bottom. And now all I need to do is feed my twill tape through my casings. This is the whole reason why you skip to that 1 inch right there, is so that you can have this little opening to feed your twill tape through. What you're going to do is get your 4 yards of twill tape. You're going to cut it in half. So you have 2 pieces of 2 yards each. You're going to put a safety pin on the end of one piece of your twill tape and start at whichever side you want, and you're just going to start feeding that through that casing. Now the weird thing about this project is that you're going to want to feed it halfway and come out, but you actually, so here's my other opening on my other side, but I'm going to keep on going. I'm going to feed one piece of twill tape all the way through on my left side and then all the way through on my right side. This is what's going to give you your drawstring. So here it comes out the other side. So this is where I started, this is where I'm coming out, And I'm just gonna pull that through. I have my twill tape coming out of one side. And take my pin off and pin it to my other 2-yard piece of twill tape. You could use cording if you wanted to too. I just kind of like the twill tape comes in these pretty colors. I'm starting from my left side of my bag, coming all the way around. Again, don't pop out here, keep on going. Get these guys out of the way so I can keep going around. I have a pretty big safety pin here, which is nice because you want to make sure that you can really feel it in there because my fabric is kind of thick too. So get a big safety pin. Also make sure that your safety pin doesn't open up when you're doing this. That's happened to me before and it's near impossible to get it closed up again. So make sure it's a pretty strong safety pin. And there it comes out the other side. Now what I have is my twill tape, my 2 pieces of twill tape coming out. I'm going to take my safety pin off. This is how it's going to draw up like that. At this point, you're going to want to fit your backpack and kind of draw it up a little bit and put it on you because your ends of your straps are going to get sewn in the bottom. A lot of times what I do is I will match up my ends like this and then just pin them to the bottom and then put it on and make sure that it's a good length for you, just so it fits your body pretty well. After you feel like it fits you pretty well, you're gonna cut off any extra, have your straps matched up like this, and I'm gonna make sure they're not twisted too much, and I'm actually gonna match up my ends, and I'm gonna tie a knot in the ends of my 2 pieces of twill tape on both sides. Like that, and pull it so it matches up. Do that on the other side. I'm not too concerned if this is twisted because this is, you know, pretty soft and it's okay if it twists a little bit. Got my twill tape knotted like that. So now what I'm going to do is turn my bag back inside out. And so long ago, do you remember how we left these little parts open in the bottom? That's where your straps are going to get popped into. So you're going to take your straps, and it's nice to have this knot so they stay together, and you're going to put it inside your bag, your inside out bag, and push it through that little opening that you just made, just like that. And I'm going to do that on that side. Make sure you're going to you have your bag turned inside out, and make sure that you're going inside. You're not putting them in this way. You're going inside your inside out bag, and popping your knots through, just like that. Now all I have to do is sew right there, and that secures my straps down on the bottom of my backpack. And this can be pretty quick and dirty. Doesn't have to be beautiful. So then finally, you're just going to turn the whole thing right side out. As it's all done, poke your corners out and kind of draw it together. And there you have your very brand new drawstring backpack. Cute, huh?